Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something wild, how a single diplomatic move could literally redraw the map of Africa. And believe me, the shockwaves are being felt everywhere, from the Horn of Africa all the way to the world's biggest capitals.
So how can one handshake basically erase a country? To really get a handle on this, we've got to start with a specific event, one that just sent massive tremors through one of the most volatile regions on the entire planet.
Okay, so this whole story kicks off with one single decision. A decision that just completely shattered decades of precedent. It broke this unwritten rule, the kind of rule that was the only thing holding a very, very fragile nation together.
So, for more than 30 years, Somaliland has been, well, a country in all but name. I mean, they've had their own government, their own money, and it's been pretty peaceful. But here's the catch. Without formal recognition, it's like they didn't really exist on the world stage. And then, everything changed. Israel stepped up and became the first UN member to officially recognize them. And just like that, the entire game is different.
Okay, to really get why this one move is such a big deal, we got to go back in time. We need to look at this deep historical crack, a fault line really, that runs right through the Somali people.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. You look at this history, and you see how it created two totally different places. Yeah, they tried to unite back in 1960, but that union, it was just scarred by this awful civil war and a genocide that the people in the north and Somaliland could never forget. So, when the central government in Somalia just completely fell apart in '91, Somaliland basically said, nope, never again, and they just walked away.
And this right here, this is the heart of the matter. It's like a tale of two countries. On one hand, you've got Somaliland, which literally built a working state out of nothing. On the other, Somalia just spiraled into decades of chaos. And the only thing keeping the idea of a single Somalia alive was this international agreement to pretend it was one country. Well, that agreement just got broken.
So where does the first shockwave hit? We have to look inside Somalia itself. Because, when a state is this fragile, a piece of paper, a diplomatic recognition, can actually be more powerful, more destructive than a bomb.
Yeah, a lot of analysts point to a pretty harsh reality. Somalia's unity, it wasn't built on anything strong. It was held together by, like, the thinnest layer of glue imaginable, international recognition. The government there barely controls anything outside the capital. Society is completely fractured along clan lines. And of course, in that kind of power vacuum, you get groups like Al-Shabaab just flourishing.
And this is the really scary part, the domino effect. That's what experts are warning about. Think about it. If Somaliland gets recognized for breaking away, what's stopping other regions, like Puntland or Jubaland, from saying, hey, we want that too? They've already got their own leaders, their own security. Suddenly, recognition becomes the prize for splitting off. And that could lead to the whole idea of Somalia just disintegrating into a bunch of competing little zones.
But this isn't just about Somalia. Oh no, the ripples from this are spreading out across one of the most strategically important and, volatile regions in the entire world. You know that old saying in real estate, location, location, location? Well, in geopolitics, it's everything. And Somaliland's location, sitting right on this tiny, critical waterway, it's just priceless for global trade and military power.
Just look at that number, 12%. That means 1 out of every 8 or 9 ships in the entire world carrying goods passes right by here every single day. We're talking oil, cars, electronics, you name it. So yeah, having influence, let alone control over this spot, that's a huge, huge prize.
And hey, this isn't some abstract idea. The pieces on the chessboard are already moving. Before Israel even did this, landlocked Ethiopia made a deal directly with Somaliland to get access to a port. They didn't even bother talking to the official government in Mogadishu. It just goes to show you, regional powers are already treating Somaliland like it's the real deal.
Okay, so we've seen the local and regional impact. Now let's zoom out. How are the big global players reacting to this pretty audacious move?
Well, China's reaction was, let's just say, not subtle. They were fast and furious. And it makes sense, right? Beijing hates separatism. They've got their own issues with Taiwan. So they immediately called this a selfish, dangerous move that's a direct attack on Somalia's sovereignty.
And it wasn't just China. A whole coalition of countries. We're talking big players like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan. They all got together and put out this joint statement. And they didn't mince words, calling it a grave violation of international law.
So this begs the question, right? Why on earth would Israel make a move that makes so many other countries so angry? Well, the answer comes down to a really important idea in geopolitics: strategic depth. It's all about getting an advantage, making moves on the global chessboard way outside your own backyard.
Think about it from Israel's perspective. A friendly Somaliland is like a secret weapon. It's a perfect foothold right near that critical waterway. It lets them keep an eye on Iran and their Houthi allies in Yemen. It could be a base for intelligence, maybe even for military strikes, without having to fly over countries that don't like them. It's a huge risk, for sure, but the potential payoff is absolutely massive.
And this is a perfect example of how some local issue suddenly becomes a pawn in a much bigger game. The US, for instance, has the exact same interests in the region. They want to contain Iran and keep the Red Sea safe. So a stable, friendly government in Somaliland, that starts to look like a very attractive partner for them too.
Okay, so we've looked at the history, the regional chaos, the global chess match. What's the bottom line here? What should we take away from all this?
The big takeaway is this. This whole thing sets a new, and you could argue a very dangerous precedent. It's a new way to break a country apart, not with armies and bombs, but with a pen and a handshake. It basically says that if you're a weak country, your borders aren't safe. They can just be erased by bigger powers looking out for themselves.
Which leads us to the final, haunting question. Are a nation's borders decided by its history, or are they just for sale to the highest geopolitical bidder? That's the question Somalia is facing right now. And the answer, well, the answer could change the map of the Horn of Africa and maybe even the rules of the game for everyone. The earthquake has happened. Now we just have to watch where the cracks appear.